I'm really curious about what you think has led to your success at a young age. Welcome to Social Kick. I'm Brian Lundquist. We got a partial crew. Dr. John Mullen. Luke is off doing whatever he's doing for Labor Day weekend. Couldn't give the respect to the man, the Olympian, Thomas Heilman. What's going on, dude? How are you?
Hey guys, doing well. Thanks for having me.
Right on. Well, hey, I mean, we can't start anywhere except for Paris. You're coming off the Olympics, wearing the Team USA swag, whatever you've got left still that you didn't trade away. I just want to know about Paris. Talk about the Olympics. What was it like?
It was spectacular. From start to finish, it was filled with amazing experiences. From walking through the village and seeing, Simone Biles or Carlos Alcaraz, and then getting to swim, of course, was awesome. And then getting to watch the last couple of nights, seeing Bobby Fink break a world record, a few pretty amazing relays, was exciting. And then I got to stick around in Paris for a couple of days, which was awesome as well, to do some sightseeing and just kind of hang out and relax a little bit.
All right, I got to know. So you had so much success as a junior and had a lot of attention coming in, and I think, if not the favorite, certainly one of the favorites coming in trials in the 200 fly, 100 fly. I think some people would say might not have favored. They might have favored some others above you to get that second spot, and then you got that second spot. But I guess what was the feeling like on the senior national team? Did you feel at home and comfortable right away, or did you feel like a rookie? What was that energy like?
I would say this year it definitely felt a little bit more comfortable. There was a lot of first-time Olympians this year, not necessarily first time on the senior national team, but I think there's a lot of us that made it a little bit more comfortable. And then for me, having that experience last year at Worlds definitely helped, and I knew a lot of the guys from that trip as well. So as a team, we were pretty close despite having so many first-time Olympians.
Is there anything like from I think about it like upperclassmen, and it's funny you're going into Virginia soon where they're just measured in years, first and second, third year. But anyway, the more senior folks on the team, are there any insights that you got from them about like what to think about with the Olympics, especially because there are a lot of the more senior folks on the team that also, their first Olympics was Tokyo, and obviously you have others that swam in Rio, but not many. So like, I'm just curious. Like I guess there were a lot of people that would be considered veterans, who's were like going to experience the Olympics truly in a new way themselves too, the new energy and everything. So I was curious, like if did you get any insights from them, like specific to the Olympics and how that might differ from other big international meets?
Yeah, and I think there were a lot of first Tokyo Olympians who this was their first normal Olympics, and definitely got some insight on how everything was different, and certain aspects that were kind of unique 3 years ago. But having guys like Dressel and Murphy, and then obviously Caeleb Dressel in her fourth time, they talked a lot about this, really hit on it throughout camp, and then leading in the last few days into the meet, how nothing during the Olympics is going to be perfect. I think Ryan Murphy mentioned this even in a couple press conferences, maybe, that we're going to a village that's accommodating about 10,000 athletes and staff members, and there's just always something that's going to go wrong, or transportation is not going to be perfect, or maybe like happened in Paris, the food wasn't ideal the first few days, food situation wasn't ideal. There's always going to be stuff like that, and so we were prepared for that, which obviously we didn't know exactly what was maybe going to be the issue, but just knowing that there could be stuff going wrong and being prepared to kind of deal with those punches, I think definitely helped us out.
Yeah, just like basic travel meets, there's always little things that go wrong. But like you said, then you get in the Olympic Village where there's so many people, there's such an event going on. There's going to be things that go wrong. What was the worst thing that went wrong for you at the Olympics?
Yeah, I'd say I didn't have too many poor experiences with the food, which I feel like a lot of people talked about. We're definitely standing in some long lines in the first few days before the meet started, but the the worst thing that I had was there was me, David Johnston, and maybe one or two other athletes, but I specifically remember David because, we were kind of joking about it the entire time. We were on a bus on the way back from training on like the second night we were there. And our bus driver, instead of taking us into the bus entrance, he took us to like the front entrance of the village. And whoever was like working outside of there basically told the bus driver that he needed to turn around and whatever. And so he starts going down this alley, and we're in this huge public transportation bus, and we're driving down a one-way alley, and he's about to make a left turn, and there's a car illegally parked on another one-way street, and so the bus just couldn't make a turn, and so we're just sitting in this alley for like 30 minutes waiting for the person to hopefully come out to move their car. The bus driver had to like call the police to try to get it towed and everything. And luckily the guy did come out like 15, 20 minutes later. But it was just I remember me and David just making jokes about it in the moment. And like we're at the Olympics and the bus drivers don't really know where they're supposed to go. But that's, like you said, that's how it is with the Olympics. It's just, something's going to go wrong and you just got to deal with it.
Wait, why couldn't they let you off the bus? Why don't you just walk?
It's Taper. He's got to save his legs, man. Come on now. Who's walking on Taper?
Well, we literally mapped because we made it to the front entrance of the village. So we knew we were pretty close. And I think, someone mapped it to the village. We were like a 2-minute walk away. And the driver said if he let us out, he was going to get fired. So we kind of just had to stick it out.
They guilt tripped you. He's like, "You're going to get me fired if I let you out."
Sounds like that guy.
We had a couple French. We had a couple of French swimmers on the bus that were like translating for us and trying to talk to the guy to get him to let us off, and he wouldn't budge. So.
Well, on that note, are there any like lasting connections that you feel like you made with athletes from other countries or even like in other sports on Team USA or otherwise that you're going to take away? I mean, it's such an awesome opportunity to connect with other athletes and people in these experiences.
I'd say outside of Team USA, over the last couple of years between college trips and then college visits and then international trips, got to know Josh Leondo pretty well. And, we kind of swim the same events. So he's been a great guy to get to know and have good chats with on the pool deck. And then also Tomoru Honda from Japan. Got to know him, traded a cap with him this year, which was pretty sick. And then within Team USA, me, Luke Whitlock, and then Aaron Shackle, you guys just had on. We spent a lot of time together between the camps, and then in the village. We were basically rooming together for 4 straight weeks, so we got pretty used to each other and had some good times. So unfortunate that we're all going to different schools, but catching up on. I'm sure that's not going to be our last trips together. So. Or going to NCAAs and all that. So I'm looking forward to seeing those guys again.
You said in the village you're running into high level athletes or high profile athletes. Who do you feel like was the highest profile athlete, or who like people wanted to meet most in the village? And then who was the swimmer that was the most high profile in the village?
Overall, I saw. Well, I told you. I said I saw Carlos Alcaraz, and on what. I think it was the second or third day we were there. I was in the dining hall, which is huge, and so you never know who you're kind of going to run into. But I was like putting my tray and plates and stuff in the bins, and I turned around and I saw Carlos and Rafael Nadal were just like standing right behind me, waiting for me to get out of the way, and I was like a little starstruck. But and it's interesting because you think like we're all Olympians there, but there definitely is like a huge difference in status even among the Olympians, and to see those two guys was pretty cool. And then within Team USA, I mean, obviously, like the men's basketball team isn't staying in the village, but I know they got a lot of attention like during opening ceremonies. And then for the swimmers, it was definitely Caeleb and Katie. And there's a couple of times I was walking around with them, and people were stopping them every 5 to 10 steps, asking to like take pictures or whatever it may be. So they were definitely the stars of the team, and rightly so. But it is very interesting to see like the difference in stardom among Olympic athletes.
So you're telling me Nadal and Ray Gunn, the breakdancer, aren't on the same level?
Well, I just didn't run into her, so.
Oh, okay. So maybe she was.
Yeah.
Actually. She might be after all the memes and everything.
Yeah.
Well, didn't that come toward the end of the games too? Kind of. So like,
Yeah.
I think if it was at the beginning of the games, like, well, what about the Muffin Man? Did he start to gain some notoriety with his virality throughout the games? And then, what was the line like for the chocolate muffins after the word got out?
I mean, I was eating them before we even realized that he was making videos about them, but they were really, really good. And once we kind of got into meet, I heard a couple times, and I don't have TikTok, so I never really saw the videos that he was making, but a couple of days in the meet, I started to hear people talking about it, and I think Swim Slam maybe like wrote an article about it or something. So I know he gained a pretty big following from that, but yeah, I never really saw the videos, but it's also very interesting how people take different approaches to utilizing the Olympic spotlight. But yeah, I thought it was very smart of him. So yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if he would have done it if he was like intentionally trying to gain a large following through this, or just like being authentic about like the way he observes the world.
Yeah.
It just so happened that those two things like converged at the same time to create that viral moment. But yeah, who knows how some of those things are going to take off. But this is a bit of a pivot, but have you given any thought to like and maybe you're already experiencing this as it goes, and I'm sure it's a topic of discussion for like USA Swimming as you like prep for the Olympics. But like, how do you feel like your commercial opportunities have changed and increased as an Olympian now?
I'd say I don't really know the answer to that. I mean, it's not like I have an agent or anything, so it's not like I have someone out there like looking for deals for me, or anything like certain appearance opportunities. But I will say, I mean, I'm not sure how it could affect like existing partnerships down the road. But I know from talking to certain people on the team that, having those medals is always, you can never hurt you to have an Olympic medal on your resume. So, and so maybe once I'm looking for those commercialization opportunities to come, then it could help. But yeah, I'm not really sure at this moment.
Yeah, I mean, being so young and the world we're in, there's so many opportunities, it seems. And like you said, some people are leaning into that more and more. But talking with Sakwell at trials, he was like, "Hey, this next generation," and he threw your name in there specifically. He says they are aware of this. They have in the back of their mind kind of stuff about brand and their persona and their personality. So I guess how do you view that with where you're at in your career and kind of like what you feel like you can do with those things moving forward?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's talked about a lot how social media is, the best thing that could happen for a sport like swimming, and we're just bringing more attention to the sport. And Kyle's doing a great job as well as you guys doing a great job to, bring people into the sport who, otherwise would never have given us a chance. And so for me, like utilizing my Instagram, I don't feel like I'm a very active person on there compared to some of my peers, but I try to post when I can, and I know that's how you gain a following, and I know I can utilize that down the road. But I try not to force myself into posting right now, or anything like that. Like if I have a really cool picture or something to talk about, or I see something that I could repost that's interesting to me, or I think people should see, like I'll post on my story or whatever. But I've just never really been like huge on posting on social media. So it is something that's kind of new to me to try to get myself out there a little bit more. But it's just a very like unique way to kind of market yourself and, building your brand and all that's.
I'm curious what the homecoming was like. You get back hometown, settle back into daily life. What, you've been gone for a while at this point, and you probably haven't come back to anyone that was flooding your phone with texts and so forth throughout trials and Olympic Games and all that. So yeah, what was the homecoming like?
Well, I think it was good. I was driving back into town at about 10:30 p.m. So it wasn't like anyone was like out to meet me that late or anything the first day I got back. And then from there, I slowly like got to see a lot of my friends. My grandparents live right down the street from us, so I got to see them, which was awesome. And then, just, every time I saw someone for the first time after getting back, it was really great to, hear about like how supportive they are. And I got a little bit of that while I was in Paris, and people texting me, although I was, trying to stay off my phone a little bit. But, the first time I saw people, it was a little bit chaotic, maybe, especially those who I wasn't in contact with, over the phone or anything. But, now after seeing everyone and being back in school for over a week now, it's pretty much back to normal.
What's the silliest thing that people ask you, especially like I'm thinking about non-swimmers who know that you're an Olympian now? What do they ask?
I'd say the two most popular questions I've gotten in general, I'd say the most popular is asking about the beds in the village. And then I'd say second is if I'm going to get the tattoo. And especially like my friends obviously know I would need my parents to be there with me. So they're like, are your parents going to let you get it, or do you even want to get it, or where you're going to get it? So it's been a pretty common occurrence since I've been back.
Well, are you going to get it? I guess we got to lean into that one.
I do think I will eventually get it at some point. I haven't gotten it yet, and now that I'm back in the pool again, I don't think I'm going to get it anytime soon, just because of the time I have to stay out of the water after, like, I think it's about a week or 10 days. So I wasn't really on top of my game and prepared to get it when I got back, and so now I think I'm gonna have to wait a little bit. But I'm not in any rush to get it, so it's no problem.
And I guess talking about, your, coming home, and now also what it's like at the club and at high school. We had some fun submissions. Who's your favorite breaststroke training partner from Max Moore to 999 a million nines there? Who's your favorite kick training partner from Will Charlton 138? And then your favorite moment at the school lunch history. So obviously there must be some, excitement in the hallways at school and at clubs. So if you could touch more on that.
Yeah, I definitely saw those comments, and those are two of my former teammates and one of my current teammates just trying to make some jokes. And So yeah, it was really awesome. It was really funny to see those. And then, but yeah, I mean, those people know they're like who I'm going to answer with. So I guess that's why they're asking those questions. But again, like now that I've kind of seen everyone at the pool again, been to school for 9 days now, it's kind of subdued a little bit and isn't really as much of isn't really going on as much, aside from when they're commenting on your Instagram posts. So
we were talking with Kieran Smith, and he was mentioning how this freshman at Florida was always giving Ledecky a hard time whenever he beat her. Like, oh, I just beat the greatest distance swimmer of all time, la la la. Is that going to happen to you at club if someone beats you in like a 25 easy, or you're just like cruising down the pool, they're going to start giving you a hard time, or has anything like that happened?
Not really. I think, well, a lot of us are kind of in our first stages back to swimming again after taking a break. And so we're all kind of in the same boat right now. But I think people know I'm very competitive. I personally know, I think other people, my teammates also know that if they did that, then the next rep or whatever is not going to go well for them. So
it's over. I was hoping you were going to lean in and say,
exactly.
No one beats me.
I think that's pretty much what I heard.
Yeah, exactly.
Don't try it. Hey, we should ask some of these other audience questions. So for those who followed us on Instagram at @SocialKickSwim and submitted questions, thank you. Please keep doing that. We're going to get to a few here. So let's talk about an average training day. So this one's from Fish Sud, who wanted to just know, like, what's a typical day for you right now? Especially like elite swimmer, but still, in high school, headed into college soon. What's typical day?
Well, right now I'm just kind of easing back into things, sink lane right now. But once we kind of get into the full swing of training, I'm only doubling twice a week and not in the weight room ever, but practices are anywhere from 4,000 yards if we're doing something more sprinty or race pace type practice, and then we can get up to maybe 7,500, 8,500 if we're trying to hit some threshold or distance work. So it's nothing crazy. Throughout a week I don't get up too high in yardage. I'm not lifting weights or anything, so comparing a lot to like some of my peers at, junior nationals or like at these trials meets, stuff like that, people are always surprised how little I'm actually doing. So yeah, and my coaches are definitely aware of that and of the fact that we're in high school and, we're not trying to fit in 11 practices a week or anything like that, or swim on Sunday mornings or whatever. So, they've also been really good about that. But yeah, in general, not really doing anything too outside the box.
Yeah, generally, what do you think your thoughts are on morning practice? Like, I've always thought, like, I even heard an interview with Ryan Murphy recently where he was talking about how he just believed that sleep was magic. And so he has a really good sleep routine and prioritizes that. And I've always thought that some of those times, those things are in conflict, especially for high schoolers, where, we're like integrating morning practice really soon. And that means that you're up early driving at 5 a.m. and, it just makes for a super long day. So I don't know, there's definitely some sacrifices there. What do you, like, at what age did you start to incorporate morning practice? What time does your morning practice start? Like, how freaking tired are you when those days happen?
Well, I probably had my first morning practices in 5th and 6th grade, just doing one a week, which, at that point, everyone can handle one morning practice a week. But
sure.
Now, since I think after COVID, which was kind of in the middle of my 8th grade year, I've been we go mornings every day of the week. Monday through Saturday. So we start at 5:30. So I'm typically up about 4:30 in the morning, which, it's not, I'd rather be sleeping a little bit more, but I do prefer having morning practice, especially if I'm singling. Well, obviously if I'm doubling, I'm doing both, but if I'm singling, I'd rather, have it in the morning and kind of have the rest of the day to recover and before, during school or whatever, and then having the rest of the afternoon off to do homework or, wish maybe they started at 6:30 or 7 instead of 5:30.
Yeah, seriously. Well, you also mentioned you've got a high school football game starting tonight. So there's another memory that I have of like the sacrifices that come from swimming is that like I was closest friends with my friends from club swimming, and I had friends at high school, but like those weren't my lasting friendships, and I think a lot of that stemmed from I'd go to high school football games, hang out with my high school friends, and then be like, okay, peace. Time to go because I got practice in the morning, whereas like everybody else is going and hanging out. So, yeah, I mean, you got early Saturday practice to get up for, or are you still able to like live some life? I mean, normally, not necessarily like right now while you're still getting back into the swing of things.
Normally, well, I guess last year, for example, I think I only went to one high school game. Typically just because they end at 9:30, 10 p.m. and they practice the next morning. And luckily this weekend, because of the Labor Day long weekend, we got tomorrow off. So people can kind of travel if they need to or whatever, which will be nice to have that tonight to enjoy the football game and before we kind of get back onto a normal schedule. But yeah, I'm excited to hang out with my friends and not have to worry about like when I'm going to leave or how early I'm leaving at halftime. So
you mentioned that you don't do any weight training or resistance training, but I assume there's Dryland's a component of what you do. So is it mostly just body weight and core focused, or maybe talk us through some of the things that you do with your team?
Yeah. So with Caeleb Aquatics, we're doing 2 Drylands a week. A lot of jump roping, body weight, pull-ups. We later in the season will utilize med balls a lot more, trying to focus a little more on like powerful movements. Pretty standard stuff. And then I also, from about early September through February, I also have high school Drylands, which are a lot of the same things. And we have about 2 of those per week, but it's just with a different group and then just a different social dynamic. But so for most of the year, I'm doing 4 Drylands a week for about 45 to an hour long.
So if you had to pick like the best core exercise that you all do for butterfly in particular, what would you say is like your favorite or and the best?
I mean, flutter kicks are a classic. I would say we do. I think one that's probably slept on is doing mountain climbers. And it's kind of a 2-for-1 because you get in you're in plank position as well. So working your upper body a little bit as well. But those are tough, but especially if you're kind of getting after it. But yeah, we do, when I mentioned the med balls, we'll do like we'll like kind of toss the ball with a partner, kind of facing side to side, and those are obviously like a more powerful movement, but those are another good one. But we do a lot of different stuff just to mix it up.
I'm really excited to have this conversation again in a few years after you've gotten to UVA and like totally like progressed and adapted into a new training program. So then you can answer like, okay, I would just be curious to hear the contrast, right? Because, you know, there's just going to be so many changes and sometimes like fundamental things and exercises, you know, don't change. But I'm sure there's also going to be like a lot of new influences and ways of thinking about like strength building and adapting that to strengthen the water that is just going to be like a really fun, you know, contrast, you know, in a few years. So
Got it. You're going to be on the Tyler Fenwick Arms program,
Well, I
probably.
think Well, I was going to say, unfortunately for you guys, I feel like aside from maybe adding another practice or two and then getting the weight room, it's going to be a lot of the same stuff given you know, Gary's there now. So
yeah, fair enough. All right, let's get back to some of these audience questions. So this one's from Kaihu Han Lung Fu wants to know, when will the 200-meter free world record be broken? Interesting.
Ooh. I mean, I feel like right now Popovich has really been the only one that's been close to it recently, and I feel like he's maybe capable of getting there. Doesn't seem like he's really like been able to put together a great 200 freestyle over the last year or so. You know, obviously the Olympic cycle always brings more pressure and whatever, but I think, you know, the next couple of years would be a really good indication of whether he's capable of it or not. And I definitely think he's got the stroke to do it. So right now I feel like he's the guy. And if he doesn't do it, you know, I don't know, maybe see Luca doing crazy things at junior Pan Packs. Maybe he's a guy who could challenge that in 3 or 4 years. But yeah, right now it seems like it could be standing for some more time for sure.
Speaking of 200s, I know it didn't go as well as you had planned for it to go in the 200 fly at the Olympics, but I'm curious what you thought about like going in, who was going to win it. Was it in whether or not like you would have picked Leon? Like, did you think Milak was going down?
I actually said, well, because I was in the stands watching the race, unfortunately.
Yeah.
We were kind of making predictions on in the stands, some of the USA guys, and I mean, it's hard to bet against Milak the way he was looking, and obviously he could have added about a second and still won. So maybe not quite, but yeah, it was a hell of a swim by Leon, and really gutsy to kind of wait around for that last 35 meters or so. But that was honestly probably like one of the craziest races I've ever watched in my life, either on TV or in person on YouTube. Doesn't really matter. That was really insane. But yeah, I definitely thought Milak was going to have it even up until like the 150 mark, but it was incredible by Leon.
You mentioned Luca, and like you said, he's having great success at the junior level, and you had great success at the junior level, and now you're seeing it at the Olympic level. So you've kind of made that transition, but you know, a lot of pressure is put on these kids, as I'm sure you know better than I do, when you're 14, 15 and doing well and being compared to Phelps and all these people. So you're only a few years beyond Luca, but you've made that transition. So what advice might you give to someone that's, you know, 12 to 15 doing amazing things at these junior national competitions to succeed at the national level?
Yeah, I mean, it's honestly just staying consistent and in the work. And, you know, anyone who's swimming the times that me, Luca, Maximus, any of us kind of do at this age, we obviously have some sort of talent. And, you know, I know someone like Luca is already working his tail off. And, you know, I don't need to give him any advice. He's obviously knows what he's doing, and he's continuing to improve, but it's honestly just staying consistent in the work. trying not to listen too much to what people are saying about it. I think, some people respond differently to criticism or praise or whatever side of it that you receive. But, I think the more you can just focus on yourself and, train well and continue to have fun in the sport is honestly the most important part.
We're going to go back to some of the audience questions. So this one is from Elijah Reyes 07. Just asked, what's the hardest set you've ever done?
I'd say just because this is a recency thing, it comes to the top of my mind. The four of us from my club team that went to trials did this set 2 weeks in a row where we went 9 200s, 9 150s, 9 100s. And we did every third one stroke. And the intervals were descending by like in sets of 3. So by the end of the 200s, I think we were going on 215, which, it doesn't sound like terrible for, you would think I go a 140, 200 fly or whatever, like in yards, I should be able to go 215 pretty easily. But I think the hardest part about it is switching between like the muscle groups that you're using. And especially for 2 of my teammates who are breaststrokers going 215 on a 200 breaststroke and then right into a couple 150s freestyle on a threshold type effort. I felt bad for them, honestly, and I was already struggling myself. So that was one really bad one. And then another one that I've done now 2 years in a row, about a month out from trials, was I did 10, 8, 6 100s going 50 free and then hop out and do a 50 fly off the blocks. And so the interval went from 120, 105 or 120, 115, 110 by 10, 8, 6. So the last 6 were on 110 and 50 easy free, 50 all out fly. And so, you're going 30 point or whatever on the freestyle. And then you got 5 seconds to hop out with 5 to 10 seconds to hop out. And then you're maybe getting 3 to 4 seconds rest before the next one. And, hopping out during a set like that really gets your stomach kind of churning. And that one was just as painful as the previous one I mentioned.
Good grief. Try that tomorrow, John.
No, thank you. But man, getting out, like you said, on the short rest to get on the block again, that's just like one of the worst feelings during a set, right? Oh, no, thank you.
I hate it.
Yeah. It's honestly, it doesn't sound like that hard of a set until you have to get out of the pool. But I had, we had a new coach that the team hired about, it was probably early May or so, that it was one of his first practices coaching our senior group. And he had the assignment. I was the only one doing that set. And he was, he could definitely tell I was hurting, and he was like yelling in my face and everything, trying to get me going, which was really helpful. But yeah, that one was rough.
Okay. So you do like somebody getting in your face, that like, that's the type of motivator. Like, if somebody's going to get not under your skin, but like really motivate you, what's the best thing to say?
I don't really need anything to like have them say something. Most of the time, the most helpful thing for me is just having people to race. But when I'm doing a set like that by myself, or any set for that matter by myself, like, having just a little bit more energy to kind of get me going and keep me going, honestly, is really helpful for me. And, sometimes there's certain sets where just kind of walking up and down the pool and getting times is fine as long as I'm racing someone. And yeah, but when I'm by myself like that and and it's a set like that, it's really nice to have the coach kind of bring a little bit of energy, and especially when you're maybe not like feeling very motivated to kind of finish that set when you're by yourself.
I'm really curious about what you think has led to your success at a young age. Because like I think we were just coming off a conversation about the realization of talent, and it's hard not to say like you must have a lot of talent. And I think in retrospect, a lot of swimmers who progress through their career can probably attest to the fact that they do have talent, even if they like tried to believe they didn't. I mean, I kind of did, but the reality is I'm 6'4", so like obviously there's like I'm 6'4" and thin. I'm built to swim, and so like that plays a component. But there's got to be a lot of things related to your work ethic and the environment you've been in for a long time, and the right things coming together. But it's abnormal. You are not, or you are an anomaly. And so. I'm curious, in your eyes, what do you think has led to that?
I definitely think it starts with having some talent, and I'm very fortunate that I was blessed with having physical attributes that you don't typically see in a 12-year-old kid. I'm very aware of that, but from there I naturally had a pretty good feel for the water, and I was also very fortunate to have coaches from 8, 9 years old through my age group years that put a large emphasis on learning the technique and not overtraining, still having fun. And I think now having the technique and being able to do more training at a higher level has really paid off. Just being more efficient and not having to really like just rely on my physical abilities anymore necessarily is what really helped me early on. And then, like I mentioned earlier, just now having great coaches, great teammates around me that can push me, and just staying consistent is the biggest thing.
Yeah. Wow, that's awesome. All right, man. We'll have some of our shorter rapid fire questions before we let you go. What's the hardest race in swimming?
200 back, short course yards. I have never done the mile, so I can't attest to that one. But the 200 back, especially if you're trying to do the underwaters, can really mess up your legs. So
Olympic gold or world record?
Olympic gold.
Do you pee in the pool?
Yeah, 100%.
What are you currently listening to, watching, or reading?
My parents and I have started. Well, they've been watching it for a while, but I started watching TV show Curb Your Enthusiasm. It's just hilarious. Would not necessarily recommend that for the younger audience, but it's pretty funny. And then I haven't really been into many TV shows other than that recently, just because of the getting used to being on the swim and school schedule. So
what Larry David moment from Curb do you relate to most that frustrates you?
I would say I don't relate to any of it, to be honest. Which I think is kind of the point on some level, but yeah, it's hilarious.
All right, Thomas, last one. How often are you doing social kick?
During my time with the Olympic team, I was doing it pretty much every day, because Todd's a big believer in starting practice with some social kick. But back home, typically maybe once or twice a week during warm down, we'll just do like a 50 or 100 of it. But it's kind of at our own discretion. It's never really built into practice. So, but I guess that's kind of how it goes when you're only swimming singles a week and only have so much time in the water. So, but I am looking forward to getting UVA and doing that more often.
Yeah, hopefully, you said nothing's going to change with Gary going, which, fair play, but hopefully that part will change and Todd gets the upper hand when it comes to the social kick every day, because we support that.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, Thomas, we'll let you go, man. Congrats on the Olympics and all the success. We look forward to watching you in the years to come. You're welcome back here anytime. And yeah, appreciate you taking the time.
Yeah, thank you guys. It was a lot of fun.
Awesome. That's it for this episode of Social Kick. We'll see you next time.
Hey, everybody. Thanks for hanging out with us. If you're enjoying Social Kick, tell your friends about it. And be sure to tell us what you liked by leaving a comment and subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. Follow us on Instagram. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel, The Social Kick. And you can find all of our content on our website at thesocialkick.com.